Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
My next guest was a genuine sporting hero. Seb Coe remains one of the most successful runners we have ever had. He then went into politics, and then he brought the 2012 Olympics and Paralympics to London. Now he's president of the International Athletics Federation and is bringing another big international event, the World Championships, to the capital early next month. Welcome. These championships are going to have Usain Bolt and Mo Farah still in them. Both of them are about to leave the track, certainly in terms of big events. How serious is it for athletics? You're going to lose two huge stars.
It's big. Usain is retiring, so that's it. And Mo is going onto the roads. Look, our sport will always unearth and turn up outstanding, geniuses, and they both are. I think we have to accept that it's not, in Usain's case, it's not that nobody's going to win Olympic Games back-to-back 3 times or break world records. That will happen. But it's the personality.
You need the charisma. You need the charisma.
Yeah, he fills a room, he fills a stadium, and our sport is going to have to work very hard to make sure that the world recognises that it's not just about Usain Bolt. Sure. It's a bit like Ali going. You had Hagler and Hearns.
That kind of moment, yeah.
But, you don't replace Ali.
Absolutely. Now, one great charismatic character we know is going to get a gold medal in this Games is Jessica Ennis-Hill.
Yes.
Can you explain to us, there's going to be a very unusual ceremony for her and other athletes, why it's happening and what will happen?
Yes, well, we now have the technology to be able to go back over previous World Championships and retest samples, particularly in cases where there is suspicion, or the technology's just frankly moved on to allow us to detect things we weren't able to detect at the time. So Jess will be receiving the World Championship medal. She should have actually won in 2009, 2011, I can't actually remember which date it was, but that's a good opportunity in front of a World Championships to redistribute it. And in the past, these medals have, in a way, they've been sort of handed out, in the local pub or by DHL, and we wanted an appropriate moment.
So this is dealing with a historic unfairness.
Yeah.
Can you assure people that in these games there will not be athletes who are cheating?
No, I can't. And I think you'd look at me as slightly askance if I...
Well, I'm still askance.
Well, I can't... look, that's a very utopian view. People will always seek to cheat. What I can tell you, and actually Brendan Foster made the remark this morning in a national newspaper, that the system is a darn sight safer. We have the technology that allows us to be very much more specific about what we're looking. I would love to be able to tell you that we will have, drug-free sport in future. That's everything we are doing is engaged in trying to achieve that, but we know that a few people will cheat. What we do have in place now is an independent athlete integrity unit. We have independent sanctioning and discipline, and we will be able to be a lot tougher and speed up the process.
Now, we know that doping has overshadowed your sport in particular. When did you know that the Russians were involved in such widespread doping? Well,
there have been concerns for many years. And look, I was competing 40 or so years ago, and from that point on,
because you told the Select Committee, I think, that you knew in December 2014 about this.
Oh,
actually, you had received allegations.
No,
4 months before that.
The specific allegations were, as we know, were horrendous, and we're now dealing with that. The question, but there's a difference here between. Was there a global problem and was there a Russian problem? Yes, I mean, people have known that for many years. The specific allegations came to light at that time.
Because Dave Bedford, the big marathon guy, sent you an email with an attachment in it, which
Yeah.
gave you all the allegations. You were vice president at the time and you didn't even open it.
No. What I did, which was absolutely appropriate, was to hand it on to the ethics board, chaired by Michael Belloff,
You didn't
QC.
read it, did you?
No, I didn't. Actually, I was on holiday at the time.
Right, but
so
that was a big
went,
mistake, wasn't it?
No, that went to the... No, because, that went to the right appropriate organisation to be dealing with that, and I have done that in the past and I will continue to do that.
But you are head of this, or nearly head of this big thing. Here is an absolutely horrendous series of allegations, absolutely on point, and you didn't read them. Do you regret that?
No, the allegations themselves were handed on. I did not read them, and that's clear. But the issue was that they went to absolutely the right organisation, and subsequently that organisation actually have subsequently said they were looking at them anyway.
The select committee that you spoke to has subsequently accused you of deliberately misleading them on this subject.
Well, that isn't accurate, actually, and the select committee, which I appeared in front of for nearly 3.5, 4 hours,
Damien Collins,
a year or so ago,
says,
was very clear on
I
that.
think Lord Coe's answer to the select committee was deliberately misleading. That was Damien Collins, MP, who's now chair of the Culture, Media and Sport Committee.
Well, that's his interpretation, that isn't mine, and that's not the interpretation of people in my sport.
A lot of these troubles happened under the regime of Mr. Diak, your predecessor, and you were quite close to him for a long period of time.
Well, I was a member of the council,
but
and
he helped you in your own rise to the top, did he not?
You know that, I don't.
Well, Lamine Diak's son, Papa Diak, said that without his help and his father's help, you wouldn't have made it to the top.
Well, a lot of people claim all sorts of things in elections. I have no way of knowing whether that was accurate or not. I rather fancy he was probably helping a range of candidates.
Well, he's now helping various other people because he's under house arrest in France. His son is wanted by Interpol. Do you think that on the way to the top, you got a little too close to that family?
No, first of all, we're working extremely closely with the French prosecutor on this. We spend a lot of time with them. The organisation has in French law a status called partie civile, which allows us to work extremely closely to bring this sorry episode as quickly as we can to fruition.
You called him your spiritual president at one point. Do you look at him now and the regime now and think there was something fundamentally wrong with what was going on?
Yes, look, the issue is very clear that the walls were too high. It wasn't that we didn't ask questions. Plenty of questions were being asked. We were never in a position to know whether the answers we were getting were valid. I have spent the last year and a half putting reforms in place, some 200 changes to our sport, that will make sure that when answers are given like that, my council, the federations, the sight lines are clear, and that we are genuinely able to know whether the answers as a president I'm giving, or my executive board, or the council, are accurate answers. The problem in the old system was we didn't have those, and those walls have now been removed. One
final area, very quickly, that we get questions about, we can sort out here, was about the odd decision to give Eugene, Oregon, the 2021 athletics meet. Now, Eugene, Oregon is also the headquarters of the Nike Corporation, for which you at the time were being paid. Do you understand why some people raised an eyebrow about you voting through Eugene, Oregon as the centre of this big athletics event, the headquarters of Nike, while you're being paid by Nike?
Well, first of all, 23 people voted for Eugene, Oregon, and the issue was a very clear one. But
there wasn't an open bidding process.
But there wasn't a bidding process at the time, and it was decided for strategic. Look, every sport wants to get into the United States. It's been a very clear intent from the IAAF to have a World Championships in the United States. I would have loved other cities in the United States to have bid for it. Eugene wasn't our choice. It was the United States Track and Field Association. But there's an important point here as well, and that is that Eugene and Qatar came within 3 votes of each other, and the council made a judgment that we needed to have a presence in the United States. Look, if anything subsequently comes out of that that gives us any reason for concern, or an election,
you'll investigate yourself.
No, we actually have an independent integrity unit that will now do that. But I've been very clear that we will look at that.
Final question, closer to home. After the Olympics, a huge success for you. There's a lot said about legacy, and in particular getting young people off the sofa and into sport. It hasn't gone quite as well as you might have hoped then. To what extent do you blame government decisions on cutting sports budgets in schools?
Well, I don't actually, because for the first couple of years after the Games, I was involved with legacy work in this area. In fact, we found about between 150, 200 million to go into primary school sport. But the broader point is that before 2005, when we won the right to stage the Games, let's be open about it, we were hemorrhaging participation in sport in this country. The very worst that you can say, post-2005, and in the lead up to the opening ceremony, is that 1.5 million more people, including a lot of young people, have now taken up sport. And more people are running than ever before, more people are cycling than ever before, and more people are doing triathlon than ever before.
Okay.
But the participation has always been. But actually,
Well, let's
if you
hope
look
they
broader,
watch these London Games and go back to ever greater numbers.
well, but if you look more broadly at the Olympic legacy, the Olympic Park is an extraordinary success, and the curtilage around the stadiums as well.
Lord Coe, thanks very much indeed for talking to us.
Pleasure.